Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a full face of all of my most used makeup in every category for 2023. So these are not necessarily new products. I think most of them are actually on the older side, but these are the ones that I reach for time and time again. I know I'm always talking about new makeup, so sometimes it's nice to just take a step back and let you know the products that have really stood the test of time and the ones that I'm really reaching for once the camera is turned off. So if that sounds good to you guys, let's go ahead and just jump right in and get started. All right, guys, so the first thing that I normally do is apply a lip balm just to kind of let this sit while I do the rest of my makeup. And this one is from Naturium. It's their Phyto Glow lip balm. This is the shade Hibiscus, but they come in so many beautiful colors. I initially got a couple of the pink shades when they were released, I think back in the spring. And then in the fall, they released some neutral colors as well. And I've been loving those too. I think they're great, just everyday colors. And I've been wearing these lip balms more than any other in my collection. I think not only because they have such really pretty shades, but also because they're a really thick, rich formula. If you have especially dry lips, these feel like they're hugging your lips. They're not sticky, but they have that thicker, more cushiony feel. And they feel so good. So I would definitely say these are my number one lip balm that I've been reaching for almost every day. If I had to pick a runner up, I would say probably the Summer Fridays lip butter balms. I love these too, and I usually use these more on the go. I was keeping these in my purse because when I'd go out, I feel like the Summer Fridays have a little bit more color to them, while the Naturium ones are more sheer. But I really do love the Naturium ones, and I would say those are probably my hands down favorite. Next, when it comes to brows, that's usually what I do next. And my number one brow gel, I haven't really used anything else since I've discovered this. And I think it was earlier this year, maybe in the winter time, was the Too Faced Fluff and Hold Laminating Brow Wax. Once I tried this, I literally never touched any of my other brow gels for the rest of the year. And the reason that I love this one so much is because it has really great hold, but unlike a lot of brow gels that have good hold, this doesn't make my brows feel stiff and crunchy, and it also doesn't leave like those white flakes in your brows as it dries. And I also love how it has a little brush and a little comb in the cap. So you can use these to just comb out your brows, make them look smooth, and just kind of get the hairs exactly where you want them. So I love that it gives you these little tools, and I really do use them. I wasn't sure when I first got this if I was going to, but I find myself using it a lot because it's harder to comb them with the actual spoolie because it has product on it, and I don't want to get too much product in there. So once I kind of put a little bit of the product on, then I go in with one of these dry brushes or combs and comb them out. And then I usually just let them sit for a little while. I do some other things, and then I come back and fill them in. So the next step I would usually do is my sunscreen. And to be honest, I've been using sunscreen as just my primer. I haven't really used primer this entire year. I've kind of gotten away from it a little bit. And I think that's because I started wearing sunscreen more, especially after my skin cancer scare. And I feel like once I put my skincare on, then I have to put SPF, then primer, then foundation. It's like too many layers. So I've really been just reaching for a sunscreen that kind of doubles as a primer. And I love this one. This is the one I've been using the most this year. This is the Hero Force Shield Super Beam Sunscreen. It has SPF 30. It's a mineral sunscreen, and it also gives your skin a little bit of glow, and it has a peachy tint. So it counteracts that white cast that you normally get. And what I absolutely love about this formula too is that it's super lightweight. Usually when you think of mineral sunscreens, you think of something thick and sticky and something that's really hard to blend in. This one feels like a chemical formula, so it's just that really thin, elegant, lightweight feel. And I was shocked when I used this the first time. I couldn't believe it. This was actually a recommendation from Jessica Braun, and I've been using it ever since I got it at the beginning of the summer. So I would say this is my most used primer. Like I said, it gives my skin a little bit of glow, but it's not like a glittery, sparkly kind of glow. It just looks a little bit dewy. And I would have to say, going into 2024, probably my number one foundation is going to be the one from Beauty of Joseon. I got this recently, so I can't say that it was my most used, but it's probably my favorite. I think I like it even more than the Hero one because the texture is even lighter and more invisible. It doesn't feel like you have anything on your face other than a light moisturizer. So I'm thinking this is probably going to be my most used of 2024, but I'm still going to use this one too because I really like it a lot. So then moving on to foundation, my favorite by far, the one that I use the most, is the BB Moringa Ceramide Cream from Hamish. You guys have heard me talk about this one a lot as well, but you can see like I'm almost down to the bottom of the tube, and I have a lot of foundations in my collection if you watched my foundation declutter. So this rarely happens that I get all the way down to the bottom of one, but that's how I know that I really love it. And I have the shade 23C. I'll show you what that looks like. It's a really perfect match for my skin tone. It has that cool undertone. It's not too yellow, and this color is just perfect. And unfortunately, I was just looking to buy a new tube, and it looks like they're redoing some of the colors. So I'm not actually sure if they still have this exact color or which one it's going to translate to. I'll have to let you guys know when I find out. I saw number 23, but I didn't see 23C, which I think is like the cool undertone. So I don't know if it's the same. I hope so. But what I love about this foundation is that, again, it looks a lot like a moisturizer on your skin. It never gets cakey. It has a little bit of a thicker texture, but I find that it just melts into my dry skin really nicely. It doesn't feel heavy, and it never looks makeup-y. It just really looks flawless. It has the feel of a tinted moisturizer, but with a lot more coverage. I wouldn't say it's full coverage, but it's like a solid medium coverage foundation with all the benefits of something like a tinted moisturizer or a skin tint, especially just in the way that it looks so natural on your skin. So this has easily been my favorite foundation of 2023. I would say a runner-up would probably be the It Cosmetics CC Nude Glow. I used that one quite a bit too, just not as much as this one. And heading into 2024, I know I'm still going to use the Hamish, but I also have really been loving this new CoverGirl Simply Ageless Perfector Essence. This is a beautiful foundation, and I found that I've been using this nonstop since I got it like 2 weeks ago. So I can see that I'm going to be using this probably pretty often. But again, since I just got it, I can't say that it's my most used product, but it's definitely one of my favorites right now. The next step that I usually do is to apply my eyeshadow base, just to give that a little bit of a chance to set down before I apply my eyeshadow. So this is the MAC Paint Pot in Painterly, and I know this isn't technically an eye primer, but back in the day, in the early days of YouTube, everybody was using it that way. And I can see why, because it is a really effective eyeshadow primer. This particular shade Painterly is almost the same color as my skin. So again, I'll just show you a quick swatch. It has just a little bit of a pink undertone, and I find that that really almost color corrects my lids and makes a beautiful even canvas for eyeshadow. And this does come in other lighter colors like this, so if you feel like Painterly wouldn't work for your skin tone, there are ones that have kind of more of a yellow undertone that really help to brighten. But I love how perfect this is, and it's also not a sticky primer, so once I give it a couple minutes to set down, I feel like eyeshadow blends really well over it, and it just cancels out all the discoloration that's on my eyelids and gives it a beautiful smooth canvas to apply makeup on top of. So just looking at one eye versus the other, hopefully you can see the difference. It cancels out any of those little spider veins that might be peeking through, any darkness or any discoloration at all. It just kind of smooths all of that out. So I've been through countless jars of this. I really don't use any other eyeshadow primers. I just use this. It's a little bit pricey, but I stocked up during the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty in the spring because they had these at 50% off. So you can definitely get them on sale occasionally. So I'm just gonna let that sit now, and I'm gonna go back to my brows. I know I'm kind of skipping around my face, but this is just the order in which I usually do things. So for brows, to fill them in, I've been using the NYX Lift and Snatch Brow Pen. Again, this is the only thing that I've been using in conjunction with the Too Faced Lift and Snatch. This year, I feel like I really have a good brow routine going, and I have no desire to change it at the moment. I just feel like this is working for me, so I haven't gone back to using brow pencils. I feel like the pen is just so much easier if you like creating those hair-like strokes that look really natural. This is the perfect tool to do it, so I'm just gonna zoom you guys in so you can see a little bit better. So now that my brows are dry, I can just take this pen and just fill in any spots that I feel like might be a little bit sparse, or any bald patches or anything like that, and just kind of flick the pen really, really lightly, and it just makes it look like your natural hairs, basically. And this is the shade Ash Brown, which I think matches my brow hairs perfectly. So many brow products look really warm toned, and a lot of people do have warmer brows, but I happen to be one of those people that has a really ashy, cool toned brow. And it seems like even products that are more on the neutral side can still look a little bit too warm. This one just matches the brow hairs perfectly. So you can see just from one brow to the other, I didn't go extreme. I didn't make like a big block brow or anything, but I just filled in the little sparse areas and just made the shape look a little bit more uniform, and that's really all I have to do. So this just makes it really, really easy. And then I just go to the other side and do the exact same thing. I don't always get my brows to look perfectly even. That's kind of hard to do usually, but I've had better success with this pen than I have with any pencil that I've ever tried. All right, so that's my quick and easy brow routine. I feel like this just fills them in, gives them a little bit of volume, but it still looks like natural hairs. So let's go ahead and move on to eyeshadow. And I think you all know which palette I'm gonna show. It's the Stone Cold Fox palette from ColourPop. I feel like I'm so boring with this. I always talk about this palette. I use it so much though, and I think really this was the best money that I ever spent, because it has all of the colors that I would just normally wear on an everyday basis. I do like to wear color. I like to play with color sometimes, but just on regular days, I'm reaching for neutrals, and I love how this one has mostly cool tones, but if I'm in the mood for a warm tone look, it has some warm tones in it too. It's just a ton of variety, and I love how this palette is laid out too, because you can just kind of go down a row. Like the two end rows here and here are more of your rosy tones. You have a row that has some warmer shades. These two in the middle here are more cool tones, like you have your taupey shades, and then you have some of the grays and silver. Then the second to last one over there is just more neutral colors. So you have a ton of things to work with, and I think the formula is really nice too. So I'm thinking today I might go into some of the rosy shades since I'm wearing purple. So I'm actually gonna start out with the shade Trip up here first. I'm just gonna put this all over my lid because I just wanna set down that MAC paint pot a little bit more. And this is a really nice color that's just similar to my skin tone. So I like to just put this down, and then I feel like my eyeshadows blend even better on top of this. Next, I'm going to pick up the shade Stone Age, which is a really pretty rosy brown. And again, with the A503 brush, I'm just going to work this right into my crease. And I happen to be a fan of ColourPop eyeshadows. I know not everybody is, but I find that their mattes are really easy to work with. They're super simple to blend out. Sometimes shadows that are too pigmented can be a little bit tricky, but I feel like these just are really beginner friendly, but they're also pigmented enough that I don't feel like I have to keep going back in and adding more layers. Now I'm just gonna deepen it up a little bit more with this shade Gravity Hill right here. And this is the slightly smaller A502 from BK Beauty. And I'm just working this a little bit lower in my crease and blending it in circular motions. Then I'm just gonna grab this shade Obsidian down here, which is kind of like a rosy purpley brown. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of this to my outer corner with the A504 brush from BK Beauty. Next, I'm gonna apply the shade Mystery to my lid, which is a really beautiful light pink. And before I use that, I'm gonna use the NYX Glitter Primer. This is also another primer that I used every single day this year. No matter if my eyeshadows needed a glitter primer or not, I just find that even with just regular shimmer shades that don't have fallout. This just amps them up. It makes them stand out and pop on your lids, almost like when you wet a shadow. It makes them look a little bit more foiled. They have better grip to your lids, and also I feel like they last longer. So this has been another product that I wear every single day. And then I'm just going to pick up a little bit of this shade Nice Guy right here. And I'm just adding this more to the outer corner. I put the light pink towards the inner corner, and I'm just kind of blending them together in the center. All right, so eyeshadow is done, and when it comes to eyeliner, my most used by far is the KVD tattoo liner. I normally use liquid liner. I don't always use pencil. I used to, but ever since I got the hang of liquid liner, I just like how sharp it looks, and it's just a little bit more crisp, and I find that I can get a really tight line along my lashes, which helps because I have hooded eyes. Usually pencils are a little bit thicker, and I just don't want that really thick stripe, but I will share my favorite pencil liner in just a second. What I like about this one is just how easy it is to use. It has a brush tip and it lasts all day on my eyes. I feel like some liquid liners can wear away quickly, and this one doesn't. It also doesn't skip when I'm applying it. I love it. I've used this one for years, and then I stopped using it for a while because Kat Von D was involved in all kinds of like scandals, and people just weren't using her products anymore. But then once she left the company and it became KVD Vegan Beauty, then I bought it again, and I remembered how much I really loved it. But I have to say, another liquid liner that I really enjoy, I just need to buy a new one because mine's expired now, is from Moira. They have their micro tip liner, and it's very similar to the KVD one, except the tip on it is even smaller, and it's wonderful for hooded eyes. The formula is great too. I just can't say that it's my most used because, like I said, I bought this like 2 years ago, and I used it for all of 2022 basically, and then I kept meaning to buy a new one, and I just kept forgetting to order it. I had it in my cart at Moira, but they always send me all of their new releases in PR, and there's really nothing else from them that I've had to go back and re-buy a second time yet. So I'm sure at some point when I finish some of the lip products or whatever, I'll order another one, but I just don't want to order like just an eyeliner by itself because it won't even meet the free shipping minimum. So I have to wait until there's something else that I want. But anyway, love the KVD tattoo liner. And then when it comes to pencil liners, my favorite is still the Kokie Velvet Smooth eyeliner. These are waterproof. They remind me so much of the Urban Decay 24/7 liners, but they're so inexpensive. I want to say they're $6 or something. They're so creamy. They come in a lot of beautiful colors. I currently just have the black one, but if you're looking for an amazing pencil liner that's super creamy, that doesn't tug on your eyelids, but lasts all day, look no further. These are so good. Next, when it comes to mascara, I was using the Thrive Liquid Lash Extensions and the Milani dupe for that one at the beginning. And then over the summer, like in the beginning of the summer, one of you recommended the Hourglass Unlocked Extensions mascara. This is also a tubing formula. I bought it and I used it once or twice, and I wasn't super impressed initially. I felt like it didn't make my lashes quite as big as the Thrive did, so I just put it in a drawer and I forgot about it. But then sometime in July, I realized that my Thrive mascara was just about 6 months old, and I really didn't want to use it anymore. And my Milani one, same thing, because I got that near the beginning of last year. So I got rid of those, and I was like, you know what, before I order yet another mascara, let me just use this one that I have, even if I'm not crazy about it. And then when I started using it again, I think because it had been open for a few weeks, it was totally different. All of a sudden, it was giving me tons of length and volume, and I loved it. So I think it just needed to kind of dry out a little bit. And I have been using this one ever since. So for the last 6 months straight, I've used this mascara, and I find that I like it even better than the Thrive and the Milani because it's not quite as heavy as those. It doesn't weigh my lashes down quite as much, but it still gives me that kind of wide open eye look. It flutters out my lashes so they're not clumpy. And I love that it's a tubing formula because it doesn't smudge and it washes off really easily at the end of the night. So I happen to love this one now, and I was really just about to purchase a new tube when the new e.l.f. lash extender came out, this one right here, and I felt like this was supposed to be a dupe for Thrive also, but Again, I feel like the e.l.f. is kind of a lighter weight version of the Thrive. It still gives me big lashes, but it's not quite as heavy, and I feel like it doesn't have as much of a tendency to clump up as the Thrive one does. So I like the e.l.f. even better, and I think heading into 2024, this might be my new favorite. I don't know that I'm going to spend all the money on the Hourglass when I think the e.l.f. does pretty much the exact same thing. I've never really been a big fan of e.l.f.'s mascaras in the past, but that one is definitely a big winner for me, so I'm happy because, hey, it saves me money. All right, so now that my eyes are done, I just want to quickly backtrack and go to concealer. So this was, again, a really hard call because I really used both of these so much. First one is the Makeup Forever HD Skin Concealer, and the other is the Revlon Color Stay Skin Awaken. So I feel like I used the Revlon a lot when I needed kind of a brighter eye look. I have it in the pink shade. And if I needed slightly more coverage, I would go for the Makeup Forever one. I feel like this is my number one pick for a light concealer and this one for medium coverage. I really don't use full coverage concealer, so I don't have one to talk about, but I think I'm just gonna go ahead and use the Revlon one today. So what I love about this one is how brightening it is on the skin. It's beautiful, and also how smooth it looks. It doesn't settle into fine lines under my eyes. It never looks cakey. It's just such a smooth, lightweight formula, but I find that it brightens my under eye area so well, and it also has caffeine in the formula, so I find that it kind of depuffs a little bit. Like if it's early in the morning and my eyes look a little bit puffy, this just kind of wakes them up. So I love it, but I also feel like the Makeup Forever one is the same way. It's really thin, it's lightweight, it doesn't look cakey under my eyes, it looks really, really smooth, and I think it has great coverage as well. And it just looks really natural under your eyes, and that's usually what I'm going for. It's just more expensive than the Revlon one. I would say if you don't really need a lot of coverage, just go for that because they really are very similar. I just think this one gives me a tiny little bit more coverage if I need it. Then when it comes to powder, I have to say I don't wear powder all that often because I have such dry skin, but I use it mainly if I'm wearing kind of a more dewy foundation like I am today, and I want to apply powder products like powder, blush, or bronzer, and I don't want them to catch in the foundation. I want a nice smooth surface. So my absolute favorite powder for this is from Moira. It's the Set and Correct powder, and this is the one in the shade 200. I also have the shade 100, and I really don't notice the difference between them at all. They're supposed to be color correcting. I find that they just go on really translucent, but what I love about these is how smooth they look on your skin. They actually don't look like powder at all. By the way, this is the Real Techniques 400 brush. This is completely invisible. There's no powdery look. It's not dry in the slightest bit. And when I go over, especially my cheek area, it just kind of blurs all my pores, makes everything look completely flawless and airbrushed, and it just sets down that dewy finish nicely so that I can apply my powder products on top. So this has been my holy grail go-to powder for the last year or so. And just a quick mention, because heading into 2024, I think I'll probably be using this a lot too. I just discovered this. It's from I'm Mimi, which is a Korean brand, and this is their Pink Blur Tone Up Packed. And this powder also, I think, gives my skin that really flawless airbrushed finish. This is in a pink color, so it also kind of brightens, especially underneath the eyes. But I also use this all over my face, and it truly looks beautiful. It looks really seamless, and it's not dry at all, so I just wanted to mention this one as well. Next up, when it comes to bronzer, I wanted to break it out into two separate categories, cream bronzer and powder. So for cream bronzer, my number one was the one from Revolution. This is their Ultra Cream Bronzer, and I have it in the shade Light. I love this color. I think it's a little more on the cool tone side, but it's not as cool as a contour. It's really just the perfect color for my cooler tone skin, and this formula has a nice melty texture that dries to a powder finish. So it's not sticky on your skin, and it also doesn't lift up your foundation underneath. It's really easy to blend. So on the days when I want a cream bronzer, this is hands down the one that I have reached for over and over again this year. But I did just discover the new cream bronzer from Milani, and I think I like this one even better. So heading into 2024, I'm probably going to be using this one a little bit more. And I think the main reason for that, because I like both of the colors, but when it comes to the Milani formula, it's a little bit thinner. It's not quite as pigmented as the Revolution. And I find that with this one, I have to be a little bit more careful not to pick up too much because I can go overboard with it. With the Milani one, it's just a little more sheer and buildable, so it's easier to work with. But at the end of the day, they both dry down to that powder finish that I love. So I do love both of them. I just think the Milani is a little bit easier to use. And then when it comes to powder bronzers, I hate to say this because it's so expensive, but my favorite that I just keep going back to is the Gucci bronzer. This was something I hesitated to buy for such a long time because it's over $60. I just haven't been able to find anything that has quite this same rosy undertone. I do love the Infallible bronzer from L'Oreal. I think those are beautiful. And the Fair shade does have a little bit of a rosier undertone to it. But that one is also a little bit light for me. If I really want to bronze my face, that one doesn't show up quite as much as the Gucci, so I feel like I just keep reaching for this one over and over again. It truly is such a beautiful color, and the packaging is gorgeous as well. I've had this product for over 2 years now, and I'm still using it, and it's the one that I use the most. So I think even though it's expensive, I'm definitely getting my money's worth out of it, and I'm using it a lot. So I think even though I'm a huge fan of drugstore makeup, every once in a while I do like to splurge on something. And for me, this was worth the splurge because I really do use it a lot. Sometimes you can spend so much money trying to find the perfect color. I can't even tell you how many drugstore bronzers I've bought over the years. They definitely add up to way more than this. So like I said, sometimes you just find that perfect color and it just makes sense. But that being said, I did find another powder bronzer very recently that I wanted to mention because again, I think heading into 2024, I can see myself using this one a lot and possibly replacing the Gucci. This was also not cheap. I think it was $39, but it's still quite a bit less expensive than $65 or whatever that one is. So this is the Pat McGrath Divine Bronzer in the shade Nude Honey. And it also has that really beautiful, cool, slightly rosy undertone. I don't think it's quite as rosy as the Gucci one, so I still haven't found this exact color. But I love this formula. It is like one of the silkiest, most easy to blend powders out there. And I think this color is stunning on my skin too. It's a really nice neutral brown that's not too warm. It's not too cool. It's really just perfect. So I just wanted to mention this as something that I can see myself using a lot heading into the new year. Next up, when it comes to powder blush, there was one clear winner, and it's the Tarte Amazonian Clay Blush in the shade Party. So this one, it's like the perfect neutral pink blush. It goes with everything. And I think that's why I reach for it so much. I have a ton of blushes in my collection, but when I'm just doing a quick look, especially with, a neutral palette like this, or even a colorful eyeshadow look, and I don't want something that's gonna distract from my eyes or take away from it, this color just pretty much goes with anything because it's so neutral. It's just that perfect flush of color on your cheeks. It's a little bit pink, but it's also a little bit nude. I feel like it goes with cool tone looks. It goes with warm tone looks. It kind of sits right in the middle between the two. And that's what I love about it. It's probably the most versatile blush in my entire collection. So it's one of those things I don't talk about a lot, and I don't use it in videos a lot because I feel like I'm always testing out new things. But just in my everyday life, this is what I reach for. It's just at the top of my drawer, and I just keep selecting it over and over again. And I also love this formula because it's super long lasting. For a powder blush, I find that it just tends to stay with me all throughout the day while other formulas will fade. So I absolutely love this one. And even though it's more on the expensive side, I think, again, it's worth it because I just get so much use out of it. It just makes sense, So if you're looking for a blush like this that you can just use day after day with a lot of different looks, this one is definitely worth the money. But I would say a runner-up, and one that I've used a lot as well, it's the Essence Pure Nude Blush in the shade Goldie Cassis. This one, it's like a really beautiful purple blush, but it looks pink on the cheeks. It doesn't actually go on purple, but I reached for this one a lot because I started doing a lot more cool tone looks again, and I found that some of my pink blushes can pull warm and orangey or peachy on me. So this one is one of the only blushes that I have that doesn't do that. It really stays very cool, and I think it's because it has that purple undertone. It does have a little bit of a sheen to it though, so if I want a more matte cheek like I'm wearing today, I wouldn't use this, and I probably would have reached for like the Persona Bubble Blush because that one also is a really nice cool tone pink. But I use this one a lot, probably in second place compared to the Tarte. Then when it comes to cream blushes, I collected so many of those this year. They just kept coming out. It seemed like almost every week there was a new formula. So I have a huge drawer of cream blushes, but I found that the one that I just kept grabbing every time I wanted to use a cream blush is the NYX Wonder Stick. I just love this one over all of the others, and I think it's because it's just like a really easy formula to use. Rather than a liquid that takes a little bit more effort, this is just a quick, easy stick. I find that I can just kind of swipe it on my cheek and blend it with my fingers if I'm in a hurry, or I could like take a sponge and blend it out. But it's just such an easy formula to work with. It just melts right into your skin. I love that each one gives you two different blush options. Like this one is the lightest one, and they give you a cool pink on one side and a peachy one on the other. And really this is the one that I use the most. The other ones are a little bit darker, but this was perfect because if I was doing a cool tone look, I would use the pink side. If I was doing something warmer, I would use the peachy side. And really this was just like my lazy girl blush, like when I just didn't want to put in too much effort, but I wanted something that was going to blend out and look really nice on my cheeks and also last a long time, because this is a very long lasting formula. This is the one that I would reach for over and over again. So I think these are amazing. They're one of those products that's not really talked about as much, definitely a hidden gem, but I recently just tried another cream blush that I'm obsessed with that I think heading into the new year, I'm probably going to use more than the NYX, and that's the Florence by Mills Cheeky Pop Blush. So I've already talked about these in like 2 videos now, and I just got them a few weeks ago, but I'm just in love with this formula. It's so good. It has that same kind of ease of use that the NYX one has, where it's just in a stick. You just kind of swipe it right on, or what I like to do is just take my brush and swipe it from the brush and then just apply it. And I was blown away by how smooth and silky these are. They're easy to work with and they last the entire day. I think they're even longer lasting than the NYX ones are. I initially bought these because they had like 4.8 out of 5 stars on the Ulta website, and I was kind of surprised because I didn't feel like the Florence line has been very well received by a lot of people, and it's definitely not a brand that I find myself going to or that I gravitate toward, but these are another hidden gem that I think are definitely worth checking out, and I'm planning to pick up some of the other colors because I love them that much. Next, when it comes to lip liners, there are 2 that have been on repeat this year that I just can't stop using. One that's a cooler tone pink and one that's more of a neutral to warm color. So depending on whether I'm doing a cool tone look with a cool lip or a warmer tone one, I'll use either one. So the cooler tone one is from the brand Lawless, and this is their Forget the Filler Definer Liner in the shade Pink Slip. So this is just like that perfect cool tone pink. It's pretty much like the same color as my lips, or it's very close. So I find that I can use this to overline a little bit and it doesn't look super obvious. And then the other one, the warmer tone option, is the Makeup Forever Artist Color Pencil in the shade Anywhere Caffeine. This one went viral on TikTok for a while. It was sold out everywhere, and for good reason. I feel like this is just the perfect nude liner, and it works for so many different lip colors. If I'm wearing a nude or a neutral, any kind of a brown, or even peachy tones, this works really, really well. But today I want to use the Forget the Filler one just because I'm kind of going for a more cool tone look here. And I really love how creamy this is too. It's supposed to be a plumping lip liner, but I don't really notice plumping effect from it. And a lot of times I'll just go ahead and fill in my lips with it like I'm doing today. Just make sure you have a lip balm on underneath like I did so that it doesn't get too dry. But this makes for such a pretty color, and then I'll usually top it with a lip gloss. So actually let's move on to lip gloss. My favorite by far, which you guys will probably guess, is the NYX fat lip oil. So I know people have really mixed feelings on these. Some people absolutely love them. I've heard other people say it's just like a gloss, it's nothing special. I think for me, and maybe it's because I have dry lips, these hydrate better than most other glosses in my collection. I find that when I wear these, and by the way, I'm using the shade Supermodel, but when I wear these, I feel like even after they wear away, like when the shine is gone and the color's gone, my lips still feel hydrated for hours afterwards, and I don't get that with a lot of other glosses. And I also love how thick these are, and I know that a lot of people might prefer a gloss that's thinner, like a lip oil, but the reason that I like the thicker ones is because I have a lot of lines in my lips, and the thicker ones kind of smooth all of that out. They fill the lines in and almost act like a primer. So I think that's why I love these so much, and they come in really pretty colors, even the ones that are super dark, like the dark brown or the dark purple. They just sheer out and look so beautiful on your lips. So these were definitely my most worn gloss, even over the Maybelline lifter glosses, which I would say were probably my favorite of 2022. But I just wore the NYX ones so much more this year. And heading into the new year, I really don't see this changing unless something new and exciting comes out that takes their place. But for right now, I would say these are still my number one, and I'm still going to continue to use them. And then when it comes to bullet lipsticks, this was kind of a tough one because I'm more of a lip gloss or tinted lip balm kind of a person. So I don't wear bullet lipsticks all that often. But if I had to pick one, I would say my number one would be the Revlon Super Lustrous lipsticks. These are my favorite formula, whether drugstore or high end. And the reason for that, well, there's a couple reasons really. One is that they don't smell like anything. So many bullet lipsticks smell like flowers, or they have a strong scent that's just kind of nauseating after a while. And I love that these are just completely unscented. I also love how smoothing they look on your lips. They're lightweight, they're really hydrating. I love everything about these, and they come in so many colors. I definitely have been meaning to pick up more shades, but I think because I don't wear bullet lipsticks all that much, I haven't grown my collection of these, but who knows, that might change as time goes on. And I think heading into the new year, I'm probably going to be wearing a lot of these. These are the Moira Signature lipsticks. These are such a nice formula too. They have a little bit more of a glossy texture than the Revlon ones. These are more of a cream. I think these have just a little more shine, but they're not as melty as something like the Tarte Maracuja Juicy Lips. Those are almost like a lip gloss in a stick. These are still a lipstick, and they give you that full pigment color, but at the same time, they have that little bit of shine, a slightly melty texture, really, really hydrating. I've been wearing these so much since I got them a month or so ago, so I don't really see that changing either. I'm definitely going to continue wearing these. I think they're beautiful. I love all the colors they come in. I would say those might take over the Revlon for me heading into the new year, but we'll have to see. And I think that's everything that I have. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful, because I know I'm always talking about new makeup, but it's helpful to know which products really stood the test of time and which ones I'm still reaching for on an everyday basis. So anyway, guys, I want to thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. I really, really appreciate it. If you have some extra time and you'd like to check out some more of my channel, I'll just put a playlist right up here. This is Vlogmas, so these are all my most recent videos from December. And if you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll consider hitting the subscribe button. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you all in my next one. Take care. Bye.